Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Paul McCarthy, and today I'm joined by Will Woodhead from Mafic. Will, it's great to have you with us today. Could you start off by telling us a bit about your business and yourself, please?
Absolutely, Paul. Fantastic to be here. Thanks very much for the invite and the opportunity to be here. So yes, my name is Will. I'm CEO and co-founder of a company called Mafic, and we have built what Fitbit and Strava have done for the sports industry, i.e. motivating people to get on their bike, take those steps, we're doing for the construction industry. So we've built a wearable device. It sits on the back of the hard hat, and from the movement of somebody's head, we can understand what that person is doing. So we give that data in the same way Strava is used. We give that data to the individual, and then they can earn benefits, free tools, free coffee, lunch, up to 10 to 15% increase in salary. So our ultimate goal is to rebalance this power, the power imbalance between management and the workforces in construction, the blue collar workforce, and actually give something back and actually get the recognition back onto the workforce. Because from my experience in construction, I spent 20 years in construction. This is where projects are won and lost, and this is particularly where sort of schedule and costs is lost.
So a business is using this primarily to make sure that their workforce is efficient. What are the real benefits of this?
So this is to improve productivity on construction sites.
Right, of course, yeah.
The difference being is, so Amazon and Boohoo and all these guys, well, not all these guys, but some of these guys, they use wearables to police their workforce. We actually position ourselves with the tradespeople. We've built this technology, this platform for the tradespeople, for them to demonstrate their capability and earn extra money. So this is in no way a tracking device. And actually, we explain this to our customers, sort of our corporate customers. Actually, our priority lies with tradespeople. We serve them. We make sure that they get more money in their pocket. They have better days. And actually, the opportunity for improvement is so big that you guys can also benefit from it too.
And I'd imagine it should help from a sales perspective for them, shouldn't it? For their clients, sort of proving that their workforce is efficient and working well.
So exactly, it's the interesting part. It is pretty much a win-win. So the guys get more money, they get more recognition, they get their privacy protected. So all of our data, as we pass the data to the sort of corporate organization, the data is aggregated and anonymized. So we protect their privacy, and then the corporate can actually use that data to understand how their sites are working, sort of which layout is better, which sort of shift pattern. So overtime, for example, it's 40% more expensive. Never do overtime during the week. Overtime should always be reserved for Saturdays. Always give your good guys 2 breaks instead of 1 break. So you remember, like, well, you have 1 break at lunchtime, then by 3 or 4 o'clock, it's like it's clock watching for everybody, isn't it? You're tired and what have you. So to split those breaks up, and you actually boost productivity. So this 4-day working week, the 5-day working week, I mean, actually 4-day working week does not work in construction.
Really interesting.
This is the kind of thing that we can measure and actually objectively report on.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned that you've been 20 years in the construction industry beforehand. So why did you start the business?
Yes, so when I was 21, I was sent to China to work in shipyards and various in oil and gas, and I was an engineer, so designing and building and installing these projects. And I went from project to project and spent 20 years working in 8 different countries through Asia, Africa, and Europe. And my most recent role, I was working for Samsung Heavy Industries, and Samsung are the 3rd largest commercial shipbuilder in the world. Daewoo's number 2 and Hyundai is number 1. So the household names that you wouldn't automatically associate with leading industries, but of course they do. And we had at Samsung, we had 50,000 people coming in through the gates every day, and setting these people up for a productive day's work was done with spreadsheets, experience, and a whole load of luck. So it was sort of like, right, okay, I've had this fascinating insight into the way these mega organizations work. they're leading the industry, but they're still incredibly inefficient. So let's go build some technology to improve productivity, improve health and safety, and actually make these guys' days better. The workforce themselves, the tradespeople themselves. Let's try and make their day better.
And what did you just leave your job and go straight and start doing this, or did you start building it while you were still working? How did you do that?
So I had the idea, and I know I can pinpoint the exact day that I had the idea. I was actually on a business trip back to the UK, reading a copy of The Economist in the back of a taxi, and it was one of those. It was an image. So the front cover was an image of sort of oil rigs with data sort of streaming off, and data obviously it was this article. Data was the new oil, and actually sort of my it was, if I could actually understand what's happening at a grassroots level on this huge organization with 50,000 people, then you can start to make changes to improve it. At the moment, you have a bottom line report, you have a progress report or a bottom line report every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks. But that's the only barometer you have to actually understand if you're doing that or doing that. And so yes, it was, I sort of, Samsung was obviously the first opportunity for a client of mine, so I didn't drop it, but I finished my project I was working on in Nigeria and Korea, and came back to the UK, brought my family back to the UK, for which I'd left for 20 years. So coming back to the UK was interesting. And teamed up or met all my co-founder and the team, built the team and started from scratch really.
Wow. So you just threw yourself completely into it then?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2018, 2019, so at back end of 2018.
Okay. And do you supply around the world, or is it just UK only at the moment?
So at the moment we are just UK.
Right.
So we're a deep technology company. So of course, all these things are way more sophisticated and way more complex than you would first anticipate. But we went down a particular complex road with deep learning, machine learning, human behavior, and all that kind of stuff. So we're revenue generating now, and we've got customers in the UK. We've got expansion plans to go international the end of this year. But it's raising money, building a team, and demonstrating traction, and actually making an impact onto a positive impact into construction sites.
Okay, brilliant. I'm sort of guessing you haven't got many competitors in your
I found one competitor, which I'm over the moon with.
Right.
I'm so and they are it's a company in the States that it's motivation. So what we reward individuals on construction sites to go the extra mile. And this happens in the corporate world quite readily. You get sort of the online apps which you can push Amazon tokens and all this kind of stuff. But actually do it in a construction site is there's us and there's one other competitor, but they're a subjective sort of evaluation tool. So you have an app, and your supervisor or somebody says, "Yep, you did a good job. Here's 10 quid Amazon voucher," and what have you. What we're doing is actually based on the data, based on the activity you're performing. And as far as I'm aware, right now, there's no direct competitors.
Right.
We do have competitors who have wearable devices that look into health and safety and productivity, but few that can have the capability to actually give back to the workforce.
Right. And that's where you're different. It's that giving back rather than just tracking the whole time.
Exactly. Tracking. I mean, as you know, sort of even the white collar workforce tracking. I mean, it's hugely prevalent.
Yeah.
Especially in the States. And it's sort of missing a trick, because if you're not encouraging, if you're not rewarding, if you're not setting these goals that are reachable and tangible for your workforce, and then tracking them at the same time, it sort of defeats the whole purpose. And so it's really, in hindsight for us, it's so simple that we can actually we can deliver sort of 10 to 15% improvement in productivity, just by giving people the opportunity to earn benefits or receive more. And
Right.
there's no clever analytic. There's a whole bunch of clever analytics in the background. In the foreground, it's do this, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And it works. And it's fundamentally, it's because hourly rates in construction encourage people to turn up, but nothing more.
Right. Yeah.
And white collar workforce, you have your career progression, you have your appraisals, you have your incentivization plans, you have all of this mapped out. Where are you going to be in 5 years' time? All right, you've got grand visions. You ask a construction worker where they're going to be in 5 years' time, and it's like, well, right here.
Yeah.
It's construction is not an industry you choose to go into. It's you're thrown into it when everything else fails.
And has there been a particular person in your sort of journey since you set up the business, or even in your working career, that inspired you?
More recently, I think it's probably founders.
Okay.
So we're raising money, and most of my time is spent actually pounding pavements, like post-COVID, pounding pavements, knocking on doors, meeting people, and that's everything from customers to VCs to partners to all sorts of different channels. And actually, like other founders, I found some spaces where other founders I can get in that group, and you can just speak your mind, and you can talk through those problems, and it is a 100% safe space.
Yeah.
Because there's absolutely no judging going on. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're not trying to buy anything. You can drop your guard completely. And from I have a co-founder, so I have we support each other, but particularly if you're just a founder, finding these groups of people that you could leverage off, it's hugely important and hugely valuable. And I think sort of that's something that's these people, they're in exactly the same position as me and my co-founder, and sort of the inspiration that I pull from these meetings is really great.
Amazing. And what's been your biggest learning so far?
Biggest learning. It's still going, but when you start, it's like, okay, what's the product we're going to build? How are we going to take it to market? Who are our customers? And actually now it's not about the product, but actually about the company and what the brand says, how it makes people feel. What's our culture in our company, and like those days when I was working for Samsung, thinking about this company I was going to build, it's like, what does the product look like, and how does it add value? That's the only question I had. But actually, these days, it's how does Mafic make you feel when you talk about it? How does Mafic make our customers feel when they talk about it? And how do we attract people in? And so the biggest learning is probably it's not just about the product.
Right. It's about the people, the culture, and everything else that wraps around. Absolutely. Obviously, over the last few years, there's been many challenges for businesses, starting off probably with Brexit, then into COVID, and then the recent sort of economy challenges. It sounds like, because when you started, you've been riding the wave of all of this once you've been started. So have there been any particular changes you've made to the business based on any of those?
Yes, but so the particular change that is probably coming up fairly soon. So yeah, we were slightly pre-COVID started, and then we were hiring through COVID, and COVID actually it slowed us down a bit, but obviously construction continued, and then post-COVID, sort of material prices, labor prices went up. So we're a product that even in those times that we can still add value, because obviously we've got an ROI, and we can reduce overheads and improve profit margin. So COVID helped us in some respects. The bit it didn't help us is that we have a remote culture in the company, and we're just going through a raise, and we're likely going to double our team size fairly soon. And so shifting from the remote environment, which everybody's very happy with, and it works with 10 people, to 20 people in a 100% remote environment, and sort of pulling those guys together a number of days a week is probably going to be a bit of a challenge. And actually, that shifting culture, we have to unseat people, and that's primarily because we do need that face time, and it is valuable, although it is inefficient and expensive to travel and inconvenient and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so sort of trying to undo some of that COVID stuff is a direction we're heading fairly soon.
Quite interesting, isn't it? There's a little bit of a bounce back to working from home. We're starting to see, aren't we, that people sort of want to get back to an office, but not all the time. And
Yep.
this real balance, and the younger generation want to be more in an office compared to the older generation. It's all sort of still shaping itself out, isn't it?
Yeah, and my co-founder, he's CTO, and he's 100% working from home. His team and everybody, they're fine.
Yeah.
But my team's not.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what you just mentioned, one of the challenges, this balancing people. Do you see any what do you see in the future, the next 5 years, the challenges within the industry you work in and the business itself?
I think there's maybe two questions there. So what challenges we ourselves are going to see as a company, and actually what challenges the industry is going to see.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, which I think actually one of the answers is the same, and that's people.
Yeah.
So we've had this race to the bottom, this austerity, this conservative government that has driven 12, 13 years of austerity and racing to the bottom, and people win bids by giving a low price. And I think I'm starting to see that change. It's like, well, we've got, so you bid on jobs and material prices are this and labor prices that, but material material is fixed. So labor squeeze, and we've got to the bottom. Unfortunately, we've got to the bottom that we can't possibly go any further. And as a result, the labor strikes and the union trouble, with quite rightly so. And so now it's a question of how do companies differentiate themselves. It's like, yes, we're not the cheapest, but this is why we're not the cheapest. And actually, the cost of ownership of this project is actually going to be cheaper in the long run if you do it this way. So demonstrating that value add, I think, is the next sort of wave. And that's what we're working with large organizations to say, we're going to increase your labor cost. We're going to increase it by about 5%. But we expect to improve your productivity by 10 to 15. So net sort of 5 to 10% improvement. And so finding people for that is sort of key. And so internally for us, Mafic, again, it's all about people, and finding those stellar people first time, that can fit in our culture and work is sort of one of our biggest challenges. And it's not through CVs online. Labor agencies.
Yeah. And what about aspirations going forward over the next 5 years? What's the aspirations for Mafic?
So when people talk about Mafic, I want them to feel that we champion. So firstly, we champion the tradespeople, the individuals, the construction teams, and we deliver tangible value to them, but also improve efficiency in construction sites in a way that that hasn't been seen before. So it's we're building a brand at the moment, and it's a piece of technology that the only precedence is Fitbit, Strava, but it's sort of a little bit of a twist on that. So new market, like completely new brand, and so establishing ourselves as that new in that new market is sort of the goal of where we're going.
Do you think there's going to be people copying you over the next few years?
So.
You hope so. Okay, that's gonna show success, I'd imagine.
Exactly. Yeah, and even to the extent of we maybe help people copy us. Maybe that's not quite right, but so we have a huge amount of information that comes off the anonymous sensors.
Yeah.
But we can't leverage that all ourselves. So getting that into the public domain, getting that into academia, in an anonymous, safe, aggregated form where other people can study and other people can add value is sort of part of what we're all about. We're a high growth SaaS business, and we don't want to sell consulting hours, but Deloitte does and McKinsey does, and so that's our sort of, and academia wants to understand how they can move the GDP needle on construction.
So we've looked a bit in the future. Let's go back in time a bit. So if you could start again, would you do anything differently?
For sure. I was hesitating because I didn't know actually which bit we would do the same.
Okay.
It's just complexity, I think. Everything takes longer. Everything is more complex than you would like it to be. And so building a business, actually the one thing I'd do the same is actually our hiring strategy. Sorry, bits I do differently is just simplicity, getting products to market. I mean, it was a journey we've been on to actually build this new market and actually be able to articulate it in a way. And maybe that process couldn't have been shortcut. But simplicity is all the way. Bits I do the same. Hiring, and this is what so our hiring strategy is this is what we do. So we would much rather go to universities, get postgrads without any experience, but have the capability to learn new tools than hire somebody for 600 quid a day who's been doing this for 40 years, but writes everything from scratch and is not familiar with new tools. Like 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, we were looking at Copilot from GitHub, and like this was just amazing. And sort of all of our undergraduate, sorry, our graduate sort of hires were using it sort of every day. Whereas we had a consultant who was writing drivers for embedded firmware from scratch. And so we much rather put the time in to train people up on our systems if they have the appetite and willingness to learn. And you get that from the younger generation.
So you're looking to recruit on culture, fit, and the right type of person rather than the right type of skills and experience. Yeah.
Nobody's done what we're doing, so I don't expect anybody to have that experience.
Brilliant. And what would you tell your 18-year-old self? What advice would you give?
It's a tricky one. It's immediately it's just relax, don't worry, things will work out. But that sort of comes into be more confident, but then arrogance can sort of sneak into that. So it is, I think, fundamentally about your capabilities and skills will come if you do the right things every day, a little bit every day for 10 years. You will be at that point in the future. Just keep at it, keep doing it, be kind, and do the right thing.
Brilliant. Be kind, do the right thing. Love it. Well, I suppose this is all a big new project, isn't there? Is there anything particular you want to elaborate on today that you're doing?
So we've got a project with HS2 coming up.
Okay.
And HS2 have set us a challenge of saving 100 million quid in sort of over the course, so 50 million pounds this year and 100 million pounds over the course of our project. And obviously HS2 runs for another 6.
I think we all want you to be successful on that one.
Yeah. So exactly. So we've got trials running, and like the guys at HS2, the innovation team, they've got access right to the top and saying this is game-changing tech. All the sort of the companies they bring through, this is game-changing technology. And actually it's really interesting. So we negotiate this pot of money from actually at the moment it's from HS2, but we want to get it to government, to DFT, and saying, right, for all of your infrastructure projects, this is an incentivization and motivation pot of money that normally you put into your contracts for acceleration clauses. So if a company hits this milestone, you get this money. We want to put that money straight into the pockets of the guys on the ground. And so this is a stream of money that is coming from the government, but straight into the guys on the ground, without anybody taking commission or cuts or costs off the top. And so this is a huge new business model, and changing the way that people are remunerated within construction.
Wow, and that's some project to have under your belt, I'd imagine as well.
Well, exactly. It would right now it would consume us, but obviously we're hiring and raising, and so yeah. But yeah, we've got international aspirations at the end of this year, and we've got some quite bold sort of targets that we're looking to hit, and we're not trying to just improve stuff. We're trying to actually change the way things are done, which is challenging in its own right, but also hugely rewarding.
Fantastic. And how can people get in contact with you, Will? What's the best way of contacting you?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my best bet. I mean, there's we can go through our email, our website, which is Mafic Ltd, and there's an email on the website which comes through to me. But LinkedIn is the best bet, and it's so LinkedIn plus a reference of where you heard me talking, saw me, met me, all that kind of stuff, because I do get a lot of inquiries, so to speak.
Brilliant. That's been fantastic, Will. You're one of those businesses to talk to and just think, why hasn't anyone done this before? It is fantastic, and it sounds obvious. So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing your journey so far. It sounds like there's loads more to go, which is really exciting. And of course, all the best for the future.
Thank you very much, Paul. Lovely to talk to you, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Will.